For Jurgen Klopp, there will be a sense of déjà vu. Another trip to Brighton and another defensive crisis for the Liverpool manager to deal with. It was on the Reds' last visit to the AMEX Stadium in December 2017 that Klopp was forced to be creative in order to cope with a heavily depleted backline. With Joel Matip injured, Joe Gomez ill, and Ragnar Klavan still recovering from a virus, Dejan Lovren was the only senior centre-back left standing. Klopp sprung a surprise by opting for a three-man defence with Emre, Can and Gini Wijnaldum pressed into duty alongside Lovren. Can hadn't started a game at centre-back since Brendan Rodgers' reign, while Wijnaldum hadn't played there in his entire career. Liverpool coped admirably on that occasion as their jet-heeled attack dominated proceedings and ensured that the Seagulls were hammered 5-1. Now Chris Hughton's side lie in wait once again on the South Coast on Saturday. Once again Klopp, who has dismissed talk about potentially going into the transfer market, will need to find a remedy to a painful defensive headache. The stakes are high. After losing their proud unbeaten record to title rivals Manchester City and then crashing out of the FA Cup, the Reds simply can't afford another bout of the January blues. Virgil van Dijk should return to the side after being given a much-needed breather in Monday's defeat to Wolves. The £75 million man is a warrior and has been ever present in the Premier League and the Champions League this term, playing through the pain barrier after cracking a couple of ribs back in September. The big question is who partners Van Dijk against Brighton. Lovren looks certain to be sidelined by the hamstring problem which forced him off early on at Molineux, while Matip and Gomez have yet to return to full training at Melwood after their recent spells out. Matip is the closer of the two to being available and has stepped up his fitness drills, but he hasn't done any contact work since breaking his collarbone against Napoli last month. The following weekend's visit of Crystal Palace was always viewed as a more realistic potential return date for Gomez, who suffered a fracture to his lower leg against Burnley. Unless Matip is thrown straight in ahead of schedule, Klopp will have to look elsewhere. Fabinho is the most likely candidate to line up with Van Dijk. The Brazil midfielder was one of the few senior players to emerge with any credit from the defeat to Wolves. Considering that he was playing out of position with 16-year-old Ki-Jana Hoever for company, it was an impressive display from the £43 million signing from Monaco. Fabinho has the physical presence and aerial ability to cope with life as a centre-back, but ideally Liverpool need him operating further up the field on Saturday. His impact off the bench at Man City underlined the dynamism he can add to the Reds' midfield. Wijnaldum is another contender for the role of makeshift centre-back, having done a job there in this fixture last season. But the Netherlands international hardly relished the experience last time when he told the Echo, "It was difficult, really difficult. I've never played there before. It is really different from what I am used to. Video loading, video unavailable, click to play, tap to play, the video will start in 8, cancel play now." Hoever coped magnificently with being thrown in at the deep end at Wolves. The third youngest player in the club's history was fearless, but Klopp would be reluctant to turn to the Dutch youngster again for Brighton away. He has plenty of developing to do away from the spotlight. Rewind to August and Nat Phillips was regarded by Klopp as the club's fifth-choice centre-back behind Van Dijk, Gomez, Lovren, and Matip. The 21-year-old had forced his way into the manager's plans with his eye-catching performances over the course of pre-season. However, Phillips has had injury problems of his own in recent months, and at a time when he would have been in contention for a debut, he's been sidelined. Dipping into Neil Critchley's under-23 squad is the other option for Klopp. Republic of Ireland youth international Conor Masterson, who was an unused substitute on 2 occasions last season, would be the obvious choice, and George Johnston would be the next in line. But Klopp was more than happy for them to play for the under-23s against Spurs on Monday night, rather than draft them into the senior setup. As injuries bite, Van Dijk's importance to Liverpool is greater than ever. He has made a habit of making whoever plays alongside him better over the past 12 months. How Klopp must hope that proves to the case again come Saturday. More Reds tales.